We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world to our studios in Atlanta. This is the CNN presidential debate.
On a soundstage in Atlanta, President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump faced off in the first debate of the 2024 presidential election.
The two have not shared a stage since October 2020 when they last debated.
Trump and Biden sparred over immigration, abortion, and democracy, and directly challenged the other's fitness for office.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
How will this debate shape the trajectory of the 2024 election?
I'm WABE Politics reporter Sam Gringlas.
I'm WABE Politics reporter Rahul Bali. And from Georgia Tech's McCamish Pavilion in Atlanta,
this is a special debate night episode of Plugged In, a WABE Politics podcast.
It's debate night in Atlanta, Sam. Describe where we are right now.
So, Rahul, we have a bird's eye view of the spin room. We're at the top of the Coliseum looking down into the bowl. Normally, this is a basketball court, but tonight it is carpeted in red and outfitted for the debate.
We're actually across the street from where the debate actually happened on the campus of CNN. But you know, the spin room is where there was a lot of action, surrogates coming out to spin the narrative of the debate. And Sam, there was a lot of that going on, especially on the Democratic side.
Yeah, I think the lead from the AP, Rahul, halfway through this debate sums up the night pretty well. Let me just read it to you. Quote, "A raspy Biden delivers rambling answers while Trump counters with energy and falsehoods." You know, this was a debate where we saw Trump not committing to accept the results of the election and owning the fall of federal abortion rights. Biden, he did say that Trump has the morals of an alley cat, but overall, even many Democrats acknowledge that Biden was not able to sharply call out Trump's many false claims. Some said this privately. One Democratic lawmaker I texted with this evening told me, quote, "I don't think we do ourselves any favors by pretending that Biden had a bad night. He did." But this lawmaker said the broader goal is to keep Donald Trump out of the White House. And, quote, "Is it harder after tonight? Yes. Does that change the assignment? No."
Sam, I texted another Democratic representative, and that person said, "We're so completely effed. It's not even funny." Of course, I did change one word there. That person added that there were conversations tonight, including calls for replacement. Now, down here in the spin room, I was squeezing into gaggles. I even had my arm kind of bent the wrong way. Democrats were spinning for the Biden campaign. They emphasized substance over style. They said the election was a stark choice. They were attacking Trump as much as they were backing Biden. Here's Georgia Democratic U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock after a reporter asked about Biden's performance and whether it concerned him.
I would be concerned if the president didn't have a record to run on. But the fact of the matter is, this is a man who has passed historic legislation on every point by point, on the substance. It is clear the contrast could not be clearer.
Sam, the Trump supporters, they were really celebrating this performance tonight. I saw several possible vice presidential picks, including South Carolina U.S. Senator Tim Scott.
If you were watching this debate, you're voting for Donald Trump. It's one of the greatest contrasts between two politicians I've ever seen in my life. The dominance of Donald Trump was undeniable.
Sam, I'm going to ask you to highlight one standout moment of the debate tonight.
So, Rahul, I want to start with the exchanges focused on democracy.
Will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous.
This is how Biden responded.
I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We also heard Trump deflect a question on his actions on January 6th when Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power. And Biden called out Trump for engaging in basically revisionist history about that time, saying we saw it with our own eyes. You know, Rahul, so much of this debate relitigated that tumultuous period in 2020 and 2021, you know, the pandemic, economic calamity, racial justice protests, and Trump's attempts to stay in power. And it's interesting, Rahul, when I talk to voters, those times can feel kind of distant for a lot of people. I've talked to many swing voters who are not citing Trump's activities after the 2020 election as something that they're thinking much about in making this decision. And instead, they talk about their personal finances being maybe better during the Trump administration. And those democracy questions are not so much of a focus. But Rahul, I'm curious, what exchange is sticking with you as we leave tonight?
You know, I started hearing about it actually down there on the spin room floor. You know, there were questions about Trump's answers on abortion.
What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done.
And Biden continued.
The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help.
President Biden there referring to Georgia's 6-week abortion ban, which took effect in the weeks after Roe v. Wade was overturned. As for medication abortion, Trump saying that the federal government should not block access. It led to questions tonight and was also asked at other events this week, what will be the Republican Party platform on the issue of abortion?
But Rahul, I also do wonder if Biden drew the through line to Trump's role in the overturn of Roe v. Wade in as clear of a fashion as maybe some Democrats had hoped he might. Abortion has been such an important issue for Democrats running over the last couple election cycles, and I'm not sure if we heard the clarity in connecting that issue and the demise of a federal right to abortion with former President Donald Trump.
And that has been something you've heard from voters that you've been talking to, especially in the Atlanta suburbs.
That's right. I've heard a lot of folks who are not drawing that through line, and I'll be curious to see if that changes over the course of this election. I'm not sure that tonight was the factor that would change that.
Let's take a break here. This is Plugged In, a WABE Politics Podcast.
Welcome back to Plugged In, a WABE Politics Podcast.
So, Sam, the campaigns ditched the Commission on Presidential Debates and went their own way after months of questions on whether a debate would even occur. Do you think these debates even matter? Did they move the needle?
Well, according to the AP, 6 in 10 said they would watch this debate. That's tens of millions of Americans. I met a few of them the other week when I went to a pool in Alpharetta to talk to swing voters. And, I heard from people genuinely undecided and many people who were feeling unmotivated and unhappy with their choices for president. But I think more likely, Rahul, this debate only reinforced what people were already feeling, that they're not happy with these choices. And during this debate, we heard about golf handicaps, indictments, World War III, rambling tangents, mistruths, and I don't think folks are going to walk away feeling reassured who were not excited to vote for either of these candidates.
Sam, I really do want to see the ratings. I really want to see how many people watch this debate. And, and I don't think we'll get the number. I don't think we're going to get is how many people watch this debate who are not like us, who are not the people who eat and breathe this stuff. Kind of like the Super Bowl, the people who don't watch all year, but they do watch the Super Bowl. I want to know what those people thought.
Yeah, and I've been talking to voters recently, and when I have, I've met some people who said they were going to watch and hope it will help them decide. I've also met a lot of undecided folks who say, no way, they're not going to tune into this debate. They want no part of it. And so, while there's a lot of talk in the political space about what the results of tonight's debate may mean, will that trickle down to folks who did not tune in or maybe only see it in parts on social media in the days after this debate? This is one moment, and I think it's an open question whether this shapes the narrative and the trajectory of the rest of this campaign, or it's a blip several months out from Election Day.
Sam, this week, starting on Monday, it felt like 2022 again. It felt like 2020 again. All the media here, on the campaign. So, we've kind of kicked things off. What's coming up when it comes to the general election campaign?
Well, the campaigns are staffing up field offices in Georgia. The Trump campaign says they have more than a dozen. The Biden campaign says they have 14. So we should expect to see some on-the-ground organizing really ramping up. And then the conventions, they're right around the corner. The Republican National Convention begins July 15th in Milwaukee, and the Democratic National Convention kicks off August 19th in Chicago.
And then the next presidential debate is scheduled for September.
If it happens. All right, we're tired. It is late, so let's go home. You have been listening to a special debate night episode of Plugged In, a WABE Politics podcast.
You can get more Georgia politics online at wabe.org/election2024. Plugged In is a production of the WABE Politics Desk. Our producer is Brendan Rivers. Our managing editor is Alex Helmick.
Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. We'll be back once we get a little sleep.